I was all, I'm sure you were.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for being here and welcome to the State Horse Racing Commission meeting. Let's begin with introductions, and I'll ask Mike, please, to lead us off.
Mike Lebo, Administrative Officer, State Horse Racing Commission.
Maria Curran, Assistant Counsel.
George Augusto, Assistant Counsel.
Sal DeMonte, Commissioner. Russell Jones, Commissioner. John Eggoff, Commissioner. Tom Ellis, Commissioner.
Tom Shukas, Thoroughbred Bureau Director.
Russell Redding, Secretary and Chair.
Tony Salerno, Standardbred Bureau Director.
Corinne Sweeney, Commissioner.
Michelle Redding, Commissioner.
Ed Rogers, Commissioner.
Darrell Brenizer, Commissioner.
Okay, welcome to all. Thank you again for being here, and thank you to the commissioners for your service to racing, but also to Pennsylvania and the Department of Agriculture. Thank you. We have proper sunshine this meeting, so we're in compliance there. Please know that the commission conducted an executive session to engage in quasi-judicial deliberations to be adjudicated at this public meeting and engaged in some attorney-client privilege communication. With that, you have, commissioners, before you the November 25th commission minutes. I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Ellis on the motion, and Commissioner Sweeney on the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Tracy, ready? On the Racing Fund financial report for November.
New Secretary and Commissioner. Starting out with the fund balance, the beginning balance as of November 1st was million, like number low. Revenue was $1,300,000, and expenditures were $2,697,000, bringing the total ending cash balance to $6,154,000. Commission revenue and expenses. The revenue for the month of November was $717,000. Personnel expenditures were $664,000. Operating expenditures were $59,000, bringing the total expenditures for the month of November to $724,000.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
The non-tax revenue seems to be low. Is that just a timing issue?
Non-tax
Compared to the
revenue?
year? If you just took an average of the, I guess it's July, June, July, September, October, so that's 5 months. It seems like it's low compared to the total amount. Is that?
Well, in comparison to last year, at the same time, we're up 1% in the non-tax revenue, if you look at the comparative. So I would say we're right on target.
But why does that come in so differently? I mean, with only $167,000 in November, the total of $1,500,000 for 5 months. Why does it come in so?
You know, that fluctuates with.
That's a $300,000 average. That's why I mean.
So I mean, what Tracy's identified is on the comparative, you can see we've got 1.5 million in November of this year versus 1.498. The non-tax revenue includes licensing fees and so on, so it's not month by month. If you remember, in September, October, and November, you approved the 3-year meat license, you approved the electronic wagering petitions, you approved the vendor licenses and so on. So that's why it's starting to slow down.
Thank you.
The only reason I'm asking the question is that while we seem to be in good shape going forward, this month we actually spent more than we took in, which is unusual. And that's the reason I was asking the question. Now, is that a trend you're considering, or it might be because of that factor, we might be still in that
It's
spending more
possible.
than we're taking in?
It's possible with spending more, but in the long run, it's not, month by month is not always the same. There are fluctuations, but right now, when we look at end of year, what we projected and so on, we're right on track and we're in pretty good shape.
Moving on to testing, for the month of November, revenue was $585,000. Personnel expenditures were $569,000. Operating expenditures were $340,000, bringing the total expenditures for the month to $909,000. Moving on to promotion, again, that's an annual transfer, so there's no revenue in November. There's expenditures of $1,559,000. So you can see the grant started being paid in.
Tom, I assume the folks who haven't gotten grants have already applied for.
At this juncture, everyone that, the process has gone through the grant signing and the business plan approval. The people you see here have submitted invoices to be paid. The other ones we're either waiting on, some or more, but there's nothing in the pipeline right now. We're waiting for the stakeholders to submit whatever they're going to submit.
Moving on to the November comparative financial statements. Total revenue for year-to-date is down about 6%, and that is mostly because of 10% decrease in taxes and penalties between this year and last year. Personnel is down 2%. Again, that's because we had a decrease in fringe benefit percentage. Moving on to operating, that's up about 45%, and that's largely made up of the increase in the payments to UK. So it's mostly a timing issue. And then overall, the expenditures are up 12%. That's with personnel and operating together. Any questions? Good. And then you have the 3 restricted accounts following. Pretty close for those.
Tracy, thank you. Questions, comments? It'll be the approval. This is for information only. Just want to make sure you got all your questions answered here at the end of the year. Okay. Thanks, Tracy. Okay, the 2020 Thoroughbred Breeders Budget presentation. Brian, welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm sure everyone had a chance to look over the memorandum that was sent in. So if you go to the 3-page budget itself, on the first page, the 95% reimbursable. First section is personnel. And we are up in total personnel, payroll taxes, health insurance, retirement benefits. And it'll be approximately $46,617. And any questions on the personnel over there?
One thing, Brian, the retirement benefit plan, the retirement benefit plan, which indicates an over 20% increase from last year. Can you explain that one?
Yes, all of our employees right now are over to the, are eligible now for the SEP plan. And the SEP plan's a simple equation, is 20% of the income. So if you remember, about 4 years ago, the whole office staff basically was turned over. You have to be there 3 years before you're eligible for the retirement plan. So the ones that were not eligible last year are now eligible this year. And if you add up my salary and the office staff salary and subtract $15,000 for the bookkeeper because she's not eligible for the retirement plan, multiply that times 0.2, you get to $96,454. Any other questions on that? Okay. Office expenses for 2020, almost exactly the same as last year. The rent utilities up a little bit from $52,000 to $54,000. Other than that, the telephone services are up a little bit with Verizon. Last year we had a new telephone system put in, the VoIP system, and now the monthly fee for that system is a little bit more than it was. So that's between that and the the rent utilities. That's the reason for the increase there. Any questions on office expenses? Okay, professional fees are going to be exactly the same. We obtained letters from the accountant and the auditor for their fee for this year. The accountant's fee basically is exactly the same as it was, well, a little bit more than it was last year. We had budgeted for 16, it was 15. It's going to be 16 this year, and the auditing fee is going to be just a little bit more than the $95.50 that we spent last year. So just about $10,000. So the amount, legal and insurance and payroll services about the same. So that amount's going to be the same, so no increase in professional fees. Any questions on that? Okay.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Who does the accounting and who does the auditing?
Fenstermacher and Associates for County Square. We've had them for, I'm guessing, the 80s.
They do both?
No, they do the accounting. They can't do both anymore. We had to switch. Right, we had to switch. They used to do both about 3 or 4 years ago. They came back saying that they can only do one or the other. And Fitzpatrick and Zerwanka does the auditing. Okay, any other questions on professional fees? Okay, other, exactly the same, board meetings and miscellaneous items, $6,200. Any questions on that? Okay, over on the next page, these are the 100% reimbursables and professional subscriptions, the services that we have through the Jockey Club to feed in the information that we need for processing of the awards before we send them off to the commission. So you'll see that that's exactly the same as last year. No increase. Sorry, any questions? Okay, advertising and promotion. Almost the same as last year. There's a $8,000 bump in total advertising, and again, most of that is because the cost for the same advertising goes up each year. So we want to make sure that we can do the same as we did last year, and so that's the reason for the $8,000 bump. Any questions on the advertising and promotion? Okay, office administration, basically computer supplies and computer hardware, and that's going to be the same as last year. No increase in that area. Any questions there? Okay, capital expenditures, we were completing phase 1 of the online registration, which will be active sometime in January. That is completed, and going into the second phase, the initial setup was much more expensive than the continuation. So that's why we did not need the $45,000 this year. So we requested $25,000, which is approximately what the amount was prior year, before the 45. Any questions on that? Okay, and other, exactly the same as last year. Travel, Thoroughbred makeover, the match series. We give a bonus for the top PA bred, male and female. We only had a female qualify for it this year. Field inspection operations, as you're aware, we have a field inspector that goes out to make sure that the mares are where they're supposed to be. Domicile is December 1st, it just passed, so all the mares should be in place unless they're breeding back to a PA stallion, that they can come in at a different time and spend 60 days here in Pennsylvania. Racehorse retirement programs, the same. We give $15,000 each to Attorney for Home and New Start, our two major retirement programs in Pennsylvania. And miscellaneous 2,000. So again, that's going to be exactly the same. Any questions on that? Okay. Over on the cumulative page, page 3, what it does is just carries over the 95% reimbursables and the 100% reimbursables. So you can see the 19 budget compared to the 20 budget, there's a 3.38% increase, or $35,801 over 2019. And the estimation of the money received coming into the breeding fund plus the additional 25% that we get at the end of the year. Last year and this year, we don't expect, be nice, but we don't expect it to be more than we received last year, the 25%. So the total budget is 5.83% of the income coming in. Any questions?
Questions or comments? Brian, just back to the expenses incurred. I'm curious, what the 95% of total indirect fund versus 100% of direct fund, and what's the...
Some expenses we can reimburse, we get 95% for. Others we get a 100% for those. On the first page of the memo, it goes over that a little bit. Basically, two sources of income: fund-related, which is reimbursed for expenses actually incurred in the association's role administering, promoting the fund program, and non-fund related, such as membership dues, collected registration fees. So the fund expenses are categorized in two types: indirectly related and directly related. Fund-related expenses are reimbursed quarterly, and you already know that. So when this was first done, whomever put it together had broken those into two categories. One that we get 95%, the other 100. So there's, hopefully that answers.
Yeah, it does. I
Big
don't
question.
know the logic. Explains it. Other questions or comments from the budget? Okay. Anything else, Brian?
No. Any questions? Any other questions? We'd be more happy to answer.
Okay? All right, good. Thanks for the presentation.
Well,
Okay, any other presentations?
No other presentations on to administrative actions. Respectfully, Mr. Chair, I need a motion on number 4 to approve the simulcast calendars for the harness facilities, Harris, Mohegan Sun, and the Metals.
So moved.
Motion, Commissioner Rogers on the motion, and Commissioner Brenheiser on the second. Discussion of the motion as noted under number 4 of administrative actions on the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I need a motion on number 5 to approve the simulcast calendars for January for the Thoroughbred tracks, parks, and rest
Such a
stop.
motion.
Okay, thank you, Tom, for the motion. Commissioner DeMonte on the motion, do we have a second? Second on the motion. Commissioner Jones on the second. Discussion of this agenda item, which is a simulcast calendar for January for Parks, Penn National, and Presque Isle. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
The next item on administrative actions is number 6, motion to approve the 2020 Thoroughbred breeders budget.
Okay, thank you, Tom. We have a motion to approve the Thoroughbred breeders budget, which we just heard presented.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we table this until next month while we perform a further review.
Okay, Commissioner Ellis on the motion to table. We have a second. Commissioner Rogers on the second. Discussion of this motion. Okay, I always get a lot of counsel on things like this. Thank you, George. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries without debate. Thank you. Anything else?
That is the conclusion of administrative actions.
Okay, thank you. George, Tony on licensing.
Mr. Chairman, we have Mohegan Sun down at Lehigh Valley made a presentation last month to approve modifications at their off-track wagering facility in Allentown. Myself and Andy Bender went a week ago Friday, did a walkthrough with their general manager, and it's mostly modifications to data lines and some counter space. It's not a very major renovation, but George has done his work on it, and he's good to go with it, so we're looking for a vote of the commission.
I have an order.
No, I'm surprised.
Too quick a little. This is in the petition of Downs Racing LP doing business as Mohegan Sun Pocono to renovate the Downs at Lehigh Valley to accommodate sports wagering. This is docket number 2019-57. This would be the proposed order. And now the 17th day of December 2019, upon review and consideration of the petition filed by a licensed racing entity, Downs Racing LP, which seeks approval to renovate and reconfigure its existing off-track wagering location known as the Downs at Lehigh Valley in Allentown, Pennsylvania, to accommodate sports wagering within that facility pursuant to its sports wager certificate authorized by the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board. The Commission finds that the planned improvements to the Downs Lehigh Valley will modernize the facility, will improve the space, equipment, security, and necessary surveillance, and will ultimately advance the best interests of Pennsylvania horse racing. Accordingly, the Commission hereby grants the above petition as submitted. That being the form of the motion.
Okay, thank you, George. The motion.
Summary.
Commissioner Ellis on the motion, Brenheiser on the second. Discussion of the order as presented. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor of the order say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to abstain, because not because I'm against it, but I wasn't here last month when the presentation was made, so I don't really have any information.
Okay, very good. Motion carries with the note of one abstention. Okay, thank you. No further licensing action. Okay, old business, Tom?
Out of competition testing, since the last meeting, we conducted a total of 131 out of competition tests. Penn National was 28, Parks was 27, for a total of 55 on the Thoroughbred side. On the Standardbred side, Pocono did 29, the Meadows did 47, for a total of 76. In looking at the last 3 years, in 2017, we conducted 374 out of competition tests. In 2018, we conducted 418, and this year we conducted 512.
When you say test, what does that mean? Is that individual horses?
That's individual horses that have been tested. In other words, the Bureau directors select horses for out of competition testing. As such, we send out our people plus a vet to draw blood, and then it gets sent to the lab for testing. Now, there are a multitude of tests that are incurred on that specific blood draw, but there were 512 this year total samples, or total horses in the testing program.
When you send out the notice of testing, is it just one horse that you're singling, or is it a group of horses under a certain trainer's care?
As a general rule, we take a look, like for example, I'll reference Penn National last month had 28 horses tested between the last meeting. I'm going to suggest to you there were 6 or 7 trainers that had 4 or 5 horses in each group tested and sent for testing.
Is that randomly selected?
It's randomly selected.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions on the out of competition testing? No? Okay. Racing group update?
As you're aware, the Equine Racing Group is a group constituted by this commission. It consists of 3 commissioners, Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Egloff, and Commissioner Sweeney. And the industry is well represented from one Thoroughbred, one Standardbred racetrack. All the horsemen's groups are represented, the breeders' groups are represented, the commission vets are represented, and Dr. Langlois represents the public in the wager. We've had four meetings up to this point. Basically, in the last meeting, there were a series of areas we focused on: workouts, medication, veterinary care, and horse identification. The Equine Racing Group came up with a series of recommendations which were distributed to the commission for their comment, and in January we'll bring them back in a formalized form to have the commission approve.
Mr. Chairman, before we get into the industry reports, I just wanted to get some horses announced to you that the match series, the Mid-Atlantic Thoroughbred Championship, is coming out again in 2020.
Talk into the mic.
I'm sorry. The match series is coming back for 2020. The two significant changes are we're now including the normal states of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, and also now West Virginia and Virginia will be included in the program. So that's the two new states are coming in. Both of the racetracks in Pennsylvania are included as separate days. To refresh your recollection, each day there will be 4 races at that track, with one exception because Charlestown does not have turf. So that'll be held partially in Maryland, partially in Charlestown. But basically the idea is to have 4 races each day. But now actually the other change is that we're going to have 5 races. I'm sorry. We're going to have 5 races per day. We added another series. There'll be prizes for the owners, the trainers. Pennsylvania gives a prize for the Pennsylvania bred. So that program has now been expanded to be to 2 new jurisdictions and also add an additional race. And this particular year, Penn National, I think's program is in June 21st. Okay. And Parks will have the championship race. The last race of the series will be at Parks in early October, so that the forward combination of people trying to win the prizes will actually be at Parks this year, which is just a change from the past. So we will have the championship day at Parks. So I think it's a pretty significant thing. It's being supported by the racetracks, by the by the horsemen through all those jurisdictions. So I think it's basically a way of creating interaction and competition among the various jurisdictions with prizes through the owners, trainers, for horses who accumulate points. So I think it's another step in making the Mid-Atlantic region what it is in terms of the hub of horse racing in the United States. I just wanted to report that. Michael Leslie worked on it, David O, people from Penn National have worked on it. So it was basically all these jurisdictions coming together. And I think it's a significant step.
Very good, thank you. Thanks for the cooperation. Okay.
Ask one further question, and I forgot to ask it during the last subject, but on the Equine Racing Group update, I seem to remember us talking in that committee about equine medical director, but I don't know how far that conversation went. And if you give us an update on it.
As far as the equine medical director and the other person was the safety compliance officer, that's on the agenda, which will probably be addressed either in January or February.
Okay, thank you. Tom, you want to know on the industry? Sure. Thanks. Reports?
I see we don't have anybody here from Pocono, Harrod, and Meadows, so I'll go right to the Thoroughbred guys. Eric, do you have anything?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Parks?
No, we're good, thank you.
You guys are good? And I don't see anybody from Presque Isle, so. Horseman, Sam, do you have anything, Sam? No? Mike?
Christmas.
Thank you. I don't see Todd, so I think we're covered on that. Jim, you have anything from the breeders?
No.
No? Brian?
I attended the Global Symposium on Racing in Arizona last week, and I just wanted to let you know that everyone wanted to know what's happening in Pennsylvania. This is the third straight year that we're up in mare's bred when most everyone is down. I would just like to thank my staff because they do an unbelievable job over and above what usually, I've worked in many businesses, over and above what I can never ask them anything that they don't do. So I just wanted to bring that up too. Thank you.
I think that Brian deserves a lot of credit for those increased numbers. So I think besides thanking your staff, we ought to be thanking you too, Brian.
Thank you.
Mike, do you have any public comment?
No, sir, none requested.
Okay, anything else for the good of the order? Close it out. Merry Christmas. Tell us about the farm show. There you go. Well, if you want to hang around, we'll let you do it. Just for everyone, this is the earliest in the year. Farm show can occur. We'll kick things off on January 3rd. And for the next 8 days, farm show. So we'll have folks moving in here on New Year's Day for competition. So come back, enjoy the show. Motion to adjourn? Motion, second.